you already know what anxiety feels like. The thought that won't stop, the scenario you keep running, the feeling that something is wrong even when nothing specific has happened. Most advice tells you to breathe, to think positive, to challenge your thoughts. The Stoics had something more precise. In 1964, a psychiatrist named Beck was developing cognitive behavioral therapy, the most empirically validated psychological treatment in history. He was trying to identify the exact mechanism of anxiety, and he kept arriving at the same insight. It was not events that caused distress. It was the interpretations, the automatic judgments, the mind applied to events. And then he acknowledged in his own writing that he had not invented this insight. Epictetus had stated it 1,900 years earlier. Men are disturbed not by the things which happen, but by the opinions about the things. Your therapist may already be teaching you Stoicism without knowing it. Anxiety is a prediction machine running a specific malfunction. The brain's threat prediction system, the amygdala and its connected networks, is designed to scan for danger and prepare the body for response. In an environment of genuine physical danger, this system keeps you alive. In a modern environment where most threats are social and psychological rather than physical, the system generates threat predictions faster than real threats arrive. And because the brain cannot distinguish between an imagined threat and a real one, the body spends significant energy preparing for dangers that may never materialize. Psychologist Susan Nolan Hoeksema at Yale documented the pattern that amplifies this. Rumination, the repetitive, passive focus on distress, reliably worsens anxiety outcomes. The mind that keeps returning to the threat compounds the response rather than resolving it. Here is the Stoic diagnosis of this exact mechanism. Anxiety is what happens when you allow your mind to run unchecked interpretations of external events as threats to your genuine well-being. The Stoic intervention, like CBT, targets the interpretation, not the event. But the Stoic framework gives you something most CBT workbooks do not: a complete philosophical understanding of why this works. The neuroscience of anxiety centers on a circuit between the amygdala, the brain's threat detection center, and the prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for rational evaluation and considered response. In acute anxiety, the amygdala activates in approximately 12 milliseconds, faster than conscious thought. It fires a physiological alarm before the prefrontal cortex has time to evaluate whether the threat is real. The prefrontal cortex is supposed to receive that signal, evaluate its accuracy, and modulate the response. But when anxiety is chronic, this regulatory function is impaired. The prefrontal cortex becomes less able to override what the amygdala is telling it. Cognitive reappraisal, the CBT and Stoic technique, works by strengthening this prefrontal regulatory function. Research by James Gross at Stanford confirms people who regularly practice cognitive reappraisal show greater prefrontal activation and reduced amygdala reactivity over time. The Stoic anxiety practice is a structured training program for prefrontal regulation of amygdala reactivity. Not a metaphor, this is what happens in the brain when you practice Epictetus's technique of examining the judgment beneath the feeling. A brief but important note: if you are experiencing clinical anxiety, panic disorder, or significant mental health difficulties, please work with a qualified mental health professional. For the vast majority of people experiencing ordinary anxiety, the worry, the rumination, the low-grade dread of modern life, these 5 techniques address the precise mechanisms that produce it. Technique 1. The judgment examination. For catastrophizing. Catastrophizing is the automatic jump to the worst-case interpretation. Epictetus' response: examine the judgment producing it. What am I believing about this situation? Is that belief accurate? Is it even plausible? This is identical to CBT's Socratic questioning, the therapist's question: what is the evidence for and against this thought? Technique 2. The dichotomy of control for anticipatory anxiety. Anticipatory anxiety focuses on outcomes outside your control. The Stoic response: identify precisely what is and is not within your control. Direct your energy entirely toward what is. Everything else, release. Technique 3. Negative visualization for uncertainty anxiety. Uncertainty anxiety is the inability to tolerate not knowing. The Stoic response: deliberately imagine the feared outcome occurring. Go all the way through it. What would happen? How would you cope? What would remain? Research by Michelle Newman at Penn State confirms that brief, structured exposure to feared outcomes reduces their anxiety-producing power, exactly what negative visualization produces. Technique 4. The view from above for social anxiety. Social anxiety magnifies social threats through excessive self-focus. The Stoic response: expand the perspective. From above, the situation that feels threatening becomes one interaction among millions occurring simultaneously. Your concern about how you appeared becomes proportionate when viewed from that distance. Technique 5. The present moment confinement for rumination. Rumination is the repetitive return to past events and future worries. Marcus Aurelius: confine yourself to the present. Each time the mind goes to past or feared future, note it and return to the present and its actual demands. This is identical to acceptance and commitment therapy's present moment awareness practice. The daily Stoic anxiety protocol has 2 components. Morning. Before the day begins, identify the situations most likely to activate anxiety. For each one, what is genuinely within my control here? Commit your energy to that domain. Release the rest. Evening. Review the day's anxiety moments. For each one, what judgment was I making? Was that judgment accurate? What would Epictetus say about the opinion I held? This is not self-criticism. It is the honest examination that builds prefrontal regulatory capacity over time. For acute anxiety, the 3-question interrupt: what am I believing about this situation? Is that belief certain, or am I catastrophizing? What is actually within my control right now? 3 questions, 30 seconds. Anxiety does not disappear through Stoic practice. That is not the goal. The amygdala will continue to fire. The threat predictions will continue to arrive. The first movement of anxiety, the involuntary physiological response, is part of being human and cannot be eliminated by philosophy. What changes is your relationship to anxiety. Instead of a signal that something is wrong with you, it becomes a signal that your threat prediction system has activated. and an invitation to examine whether the judgment behind it is accurate. Epictetus was born into slavery. He was physically disabled by his master. He had every external reason for chronic anxiety, and he built a philosophical framework for mental freedom that 2,300 years of history has not improved upon in its essentials. The freedom he was describing was not the absence of difficult feelings. It was the capacity to examine those feelings honestly and to refuse to add the weight of false judgment to the genuine difficulty of being alive. That capacity is available to you, not through elimination of anxiety, through its philosophical examination. The Stoics didn't practice philosophy because they were perfect. They practiced because they weren't. After all, we're all human.